Here in Washington, both pro and anti-Maduro forces held screaming matches outside the Venezuelan embassy, where they were kept apart by barricades and by police. Michele Greenstein has spent most of the day there. She's been following events, and she's good enough to join us live now. Michele, I imagine you were necessitating earplugs throughout most of the day, but give us the reaction today here in Washington.
Will do, Rick. It's good to be with you. I'm at the Venezuelan embassy here in D.C., where, as we know, there have been left-wing and anti-war activists calling themselves the Embassy Protection Collective that have actually been living in this building, some of them up to 3 weeks. Now, for the better part of this day, there's been somewhat of a standoff between them and pro-opposition, pro-Juan Guaido Venezuelan protesters who arrived today around 11 a.m. Now, the street that you see behind me was actually full just a few hours ago, and there were no outright clashes, but there was definitely a lot of chanting. These opposition protesters came out, they chanted, "Get out of our embassy, move to Cuba, and leave Venezuela alone," which some may say is ironic because the main goal of the people inside the embassy is for the U.S. government to do just that, to get their hands off of Venezuela. Now, on the front steps, for the pro-Maduro protesters, we had chants of Juan Guaido, hell no, CIA, hell no, peace not war, and of course, singing "We shall not be moved." Now, I spent the better part of this day talking to some of these protesters on both sides. Let's hear what a couple of them had to say.
His time was up in January, and we have now an interim president that's going to secure elections. So any orders or any instructions from the previous government are not legitimate.
I'm here because I am a Venezuelan, and this is our embassy. And they are occupying the embassy without any right. Our right is to be here defending our place. As a Venezuelan, we want them out.
The United States believes that Latin America is its own backyard, and the sovereignty of Latin American countries is for sale. It's not for sale. These countries have dignity and are not willing to cede their democratic processes to an imperialist foreign entity.
It's like if somebody from another country started recognizing Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi as the president of this country. It's just it's not the way it's done.
Opposition protesters have been here for the past few weeks, but not in such numbers. Today was the first day that they really turned up like this. The Secret Service has been here for the past few weeks, but today was the first day that the State Department Security Service showed up in full force. Now, today, after opposition leader Juan Guaido appeared in that video and called for Venezuelans to take to the streets, Security Advisor John Bolton also came out with a statement putting pressure on elements of the Venezuelan government and military to join him in supporting Juan Guaido. Let's listen to what he had to say.
We've made it clear to Russia in both public and private statements throughout this that we regard the actions that they've taken in Venezuela as something that we regard with the utmost seriousness, and particularly now when innocent Venezuelan civilian lives are on the line, we expect the Russians not to interfere in what's happening in Venezuela. I should also say that we have been planning for what we call the day after Maduro for quite some time, and indeed we're thinking of having a briefing on Thursday or Friday of this week. I think we may speed that up, but we wanted to point out that it's been very much on our mind that we can provide a lot of assistance to the Guaido government when it assumes power.
In addition to calling for military and government leaders to switch their allegiance to Guaido, Bolton also reiterated that all options are on the table, but he didn't elaborate on the possibility of U.S. military intervention. As for the activists inside this building, the Embassy Protection Collective, they say that they're here for the long haul, for as long as it takes to protect Venezuela's sovereignty. Right back to you.
I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.